some of the bigger influencers talk about how if you're sleeping more than 4 hours a night, you're losing to your competition. For every influencer and entrepreneur who has that mindset, there are two that give the credit to their success to a good night's sleep. Like Bill
Yeah.
Gates is one of those, right? I believe really credits his success with getting a good night's sleep and being rested and being able to, come full force throughout the day and having a good sleep. And, most Americans do not get the sleep we need today. And I actually have an Aura ring, one of the kind of Fitbit things that are ring. And I look at my sleep every single morning once I'm at the day and see how I slept and make changes throughout my week to improve my sleep.
Let's learn how our next guest gets up, dress up, and show up on purpose. Enjoy the episode. Hello, morning enthusiasts. Welcome to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lunid, and today I am honored to have a very special guest with us today, Jon Bassford. Now, he is an operations professional and entrepreneur fueled by curiosity. And we all have superpowers, but he believes this one is his superpower. And this one is really intriguing in every sense because he's just been working with venture-backed startups and global nonprofits, just optimizing operations for them. We imagine he's very, very well organized. So known for his curiosity-driven leadership, he helped organizations and individuals innovate and grow by embracing the power of inquiry. Now that's unique in every way. So I'm really excited to dive into this conversation. So with no further ado, Jon, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, it's my pleasure. Now, I have not heard anyone uses curiosity. They say curiosity kills the cat. I have not heard anyone uses curiosity as their superpower to have done all you have accomplished with the companies you work with.
Yeah, so I can't take credit for that. I actually a colleague of mine introduced me to a expert who he's an academic who his superpower is helping people define their superpowers.
Mm.
And actually through a series of conversations and the questionnaires, that sort of thing, labeled my superpower as curiosity. This was actually a couple of years ago, and I didn't really do anything with it. And then I was working with a branding company this past year on the growth of my company and my personal brand. And this is what came out of my kind of in-depth conversation with them. She's like, curiosity is your superpower. So I literally kind of took that and started leaning into that. When I think about my life from childhood, education, professional life, so much really has been driven by curiosity.
Yeah. And by curiosity, I imagine you ask a lot of questions, a lot of the right questions.
Yeah, so yeah, I would say so now. When I was a younger kid, I was probably more on that stubborn, obnoxious side of being curious, and but I often heard the phrase, "You're going to be a great lawyer, or you should be a lawyer someday." I did end up going to law school, but did not become the lawyer. I ended up falling into other career paths. But yes, throughout life and in professionalism, everything, being having enough knowledge and enough curiosity to ask the right questions really helps in understanding and solving problems.
Yeah, I know Tony Robbins. He had a book. I forgot the title of it, but a really big chapter of it was asking the right questions to get the right answers. Because they say there's no dumb questions, but if you I beg to differ, right? Because you got to know what you're looking for. It's the same thing with asking the subconscious the right questions so that you can find the answers that are deeply rooted in there, right?
100%.
Tell us how you define curiosity-driven leadership. And I'd like to know how it's different from others because we have narcissistic leaders, laissez-faire leaders, transactional, transformational, the whole shebang. But curiosity-driven leadership is new.
Yeah, so curiosity-driven leadership for me is about having leaders who create an environment of discovery, curiosity, and intrigue.
Got it.
And they do that with themselves, right? Having a mindset for growth, having a mindset for intrigue, being able to create an environment where people are allowed to ask questions, to push back, give feedback, bring new ideas, and building a whole culture around that. You know, one aspect of that is creating a culture around psychological safety, which Google actually did a study on this that actually found that that's the key, the one key factor for groups and departments being productive and innovative.
Hmm. Yeah, it's the innovation, because when I hear you define curiosity leadership, I just hear innovation. I just hear it's a safe place to kind of go to the drawing board and kind of tinker away until you come up with a solution.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. The you know old age of manufacturing and doing things on a supply line where, this is your job. You do this job, same job every day. The same car is going to come by every day, and you just do that one after the next. Today's world in how we operate in both personally and professionally, that's not the way things are. Things are constantly changing. Things are, if we want to keep up with competition and keep thriving and succeeding, we have to continually innovate, which requires, creating an environment where people can have their eyes open, their ears open, and kind of go with the whole old saying of when you see something, say something, and really bring that to the table.
Yeah, that curiosity, bringing that and fostering that curiosity, because the old way of doing things no longer work, because it's a knowledge era that we live in. We're bombarded with knowledge, right? We're bombarded with information, and so having to, I imagine, to kind of siloed and kind of focus and pinpoint it, it becomes a lot harder.
Mhm.
So companies need to figure out how to make that work. So give us some insight.
Sure. Yeah, I think there's a couple things. I think for leaders, for one, it's obviously first being, you know, realizing your strengths and weaknesses and
Mhm.
making sure that you have the ability for change, you have the ability for a growth mindset, you have the ability to do all this stuff. So I think first of all, it's got to be working on yourself, but then it really is kind of go back to the question of asking the right questions. You got to be able to, overturn every stone, right? Nothing should be completely sacred. Now there's things like your mission and vision and value statements that change a lot less frequently, but the operations and the how you do things and when you do them and how, that sort of thing, everything's got to be on the table. You got to be able to be able to let go and find the best solution and not just the one that we've always been doing.
Yeah. And I know you have a book called The Curious Leader, Navigating the Power of Asking Questions. How, throughout your research and studies and your experience, how do you find that leaders how do you foster that mindset, that growth mindset that you talk about? Because, there's that leaders are born, or leaders are, what's the other one? I forgot what it is. But how can one integrate that and become a curious leader?
Sure. I think the biggest thing with that is just intentionality, right? They have to see the light, for lack of better terms, see the benefit and the value of growth, of curiosity, of innovation, and then just being intentional. Just doing small things. One of the examples that I give in my book that it's currently still being written, it'll hopefully be released early 2025,
Mhm.
is this concept of leaders speaking last. Simon Sinek actually talks about this as well, but so I got to give him credit. But it's something I've been talking about for the last year or two, and the notion that like when most leaders talk to their staff, it's they come into a meeting, they give their thoughts and ideas on what just happened or what's going to occur, and then they say, "Let me know your thoughts." You just steered that entire conversation to what you just said, unless you have this environmental culture already where it allows for feedback and pushback, et cetera, they're not going to be as open and honest. So what you do is you sit back and open up and say, "Hey, look, I want to know your honest, truthful thoughts. Nothing bad can be said here. This is a safe place. Go back to the psychological safety. I want to hear your thoughts." And you open a meeting with that, you're going to get a lot more realistic and truthful feedback.
Yeah, I like that, and I can imagine a lot of startups and a lot of entrepreneurs, or eating this up, thinking, okay, this is how it can be done, because we're always looking for ways to innovate or find the easier, simpler, how to automate, the better way of doing things. And sometimes what the entrepreneurs just don't want, they do not take off some hats. We wear too many hats. It is overwhelming at times, and that would be the best, fastest approach is let me open table, brainstorm, let me hear your thoughts. What do you got?
Yeah, absolutely. I talk a lot about the DIY dilemma, right? Or this notion that we have to every idea has to come from us. We're the driver of ideas. We got to take on more than we can chew.
Yeah.
We can't have success unless we grind it through. Well, the truth is, if you kind of let go, right, and bring others into the process, bring others into the feedback loop, you can definitely get a lot more done and done better and quicker, and also lighten your load at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, I concur. And I see that in your experience that you like working with kids and co-parenting to kind of establish using curiosity to help improve relationships. And even you do have an upcoming book called The Co-Parenting Secret. I see that, and I'm curious because the family unit is the first organization we're part of, right? So I'm curious how we can use this leadership, this curiosity driven approach to instill it in our children. Because that's huge. Because I think that change, if we can implement that change so early on, we can change the generation coming.
Yeah, a couple things on that. I mean, this definitely brings in the curiosity, the point, the DIY dilemma as well. I was a product of a divorced family, and for most people in my generation, it was you lived with one parent, usually mom,
Mm-hmm.
and saw your dad on every other weekends or whenever that was scheduled, and it was really one parent, right? Again, the DIY dilemma: one parent making the decisions, calling all the shots, helping with the homework, helping when you're sick, helping with all the things that you have to do as a parent overseeing a child. Whereas if you adopt a true co-parenting relationship that I've actually adopted with my ex-wife and the book is about, is it creates that common will, right? That force of combined intention of raising kids together. And what it does for your kids, it teaches them so much better coping mechanisms,
Mm-hmm.
right? To let go of animosities, that two people who couldn't make it work being married can make it work as co-parents, and that can truly work together, exchange information, exchange ideas, and whether about the struggles of parenting or about the child, and just truly create a cohesive unit. Even though you're not biological family, or married anymore, to the other spouse, but you can make it all work, and it truly is a better way of handling co-parenting and parenting, and a much better example for our children.
Yeah, and I agree, and can't wait for that one to come out, the co-parenting secret, because I feel like a lot of people would find it's the insight to a better approach to raising kids as co-parents. Now, let's talk about how the work that you've been doing. You've been working with individuals, you've been working with startups, even nonprofits. Let's talk about how you've managed to grow your business to the next level using this approach.
Yeah, so when I first started consulting about 6 years ago, it happened a little organically. I launched operations for some startups, both for-profit and nonprofit, and then stayed on as a fractional COO. Now, the issue with that business model is that's a direct exchange, dollar per time. There
Right.
came a point where there's a ceiling. I can only help so many organizations. So what I started doing was pulling back on the fractional COO work and productizing what I do, which is helping organizations being curious about their operations and diving into their operations. And instead of companies and organizations doing strategic planning by just, wishful thinking of we want to do this or just doing more of the same, we help dive in and analyze where are the holes in your operations, where are the areas in your operations that you need to fix or need to improve or just expand upon to hit the growth. Then we work with the executives of that team from a mindset, culture, and execution standpoint to execute on the growth plan that comes out of the analysis phase.
Not trading dollar for hour, in that sense. And then they could help automate some of the process. They can start thinking about how they can scale themselves.
Yeah, yeah, we're looking at everything. We put up the hood and we look at the engine, the carburetor, the fuel lines, whatever it may be. We find places where they can market better and sell better. We find places where they need to improve their internal processes to just, cut out the burdens that are pulling the CEO in to handle these type of problems or to do these tasks and duties versus focusing on growth and strategy where they should be.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Let's talk about your morning routine. How do you get up, dress up, and show up?
Sure. So, I'll throw in my nighttime routine as well, if that's all
Yeah.
right. So, I do believe that those are the two most important aspects of the day. I got into a spiritual journey about 4 years ago, and it really has changed my life to live lighter. So, my routines are geared around that a little bit. So, evening, the last 45 minutes of the night, screens are off, everything. I read. It's usually on kind of more spiritual, personal development type books, sometimes business books, but usually on those latter or the former ones. So I do that for about anywhere between, 20 and 30 minutes, depending just how I'm feeling, how tired I am. And then I meditate for 10, 20 minutes. And as a activator by nature and overthinker, this helps calm my brain down, help me get rid of, the worries and thoughts and feelings of the day and just come to a more peaceful place and be able to have a better night's sleep. And then kind of coming out of the morning after I, brush my teeth and all that kind of stuff, I meditate again.
Mhm.
And bring in my intentions for the day. And if there's a client meeting I'm really hoping to land because I believe we can help them, bring that in and have the intention of that and really kind of just center myself and just hit the day in a more present, positive, and loving way.
That's fantastic. So two times you're meditating,
Yeah.
and I bet you're sleeping very well, like a
Yeah,
baby.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, look, we all still have stuff we work on, right? I'm not batting 1,000 every single time, but it has made the world of difference for me, and it's something again I've been doing habitually for the past 4 years now.
Yeah, that's no non-negotiable. Your non-negotiable is getting that meditation in at
Right.
night and in the morning, because quality sleep matters. Morning routine does start the night before, because if you're fatigued and groggy, you really don't have the energy to do anything else,
Yeah.
especially for self-care.
Yeah, the entrepreneurial world, you hear a lot of times some of the bigger influencers talk about how if you're sleeping more than 4 hours a night, you're losing to your competition. For every influencer and entrepreneur who has that mindset, there are two that give the credit to their success to a good night's sleep. Like Bill
Yeah.
Gates is one of those, right? I believe really credits his success with getting a good night's sleep and being rested and being able to, come full force throughout the day and having a good sleep. And most Americans do not get the sleep we need today. And I actually have an Aura ring, one of the kind of Fitbit things that are ring, and I look at my sleep every single morning once I'm at the day and see how I slept and make changes throughout my week to improve my sleep.
Improve it. Yeah, no, that's imperative, because that's where you rejuvenate. That's where the healing happens, the recovery takes place. And I've even read something that we're driven by the sunlight, so melatonin is high between 10 and midnight. So you need to be in bed by then so you can take the restorative
Yeah.
benefits of it. And a lot of people are sleeping at 11 o'clock, midnight, 2 a.m., and it's kind of scattered. But you really need, there's when you go to sleep matters.
Yeah. So my ring, which I never really knew about this prior to having this, but they track something called your chronotype, which is your optimal sleep time frame.
Yep.
And mine is roughly like falling asleep between 10 and 10:30 and being up between 7 and 7:30 is my optimal, which is actually what I shoot for now, kind of knowing that and it actual
It works.
me like where I am in alignment with where I should be. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it does. And my chronotype is it's the lion, and so I'm sleeping around the same time, 10 p.m., but I'm up at 5, 4:35 a.m. I can rise a lot higher. I mean, a lot earlier, but I'm tired by 6 p.m. I don't even know my own name. So, but it's good to know that, because these are the information. When they say information is power, right? We talked
Mm.
about information era and being information like overloaded with information, but it's the right information. How can you use the information to your benefit?
Yeah.
How can
Yeah,
you use
it,
it?
Yeah, and getting the Aura Ring, I mean, I got it for kind of more fitness tracking, and the thing that I use it probably most more than anything is on the sleep aspect. I'm someone who does have sleep apnea as well, and I've had it for worn a CPAP machine for what, 12 years now, and so tracking my sleep and making sure I get good sleep is very much part of my day as well.
Yeah, and it gets the day started right because you're rested, you're ready to take on the
Right.
day. Yeah. Tell us, where can we find you? Where can we find your upcoming book? How do we
Sure. Yeah, so the best thing to do to stay up to date on my books and when they're going to be released, because I'll be updating those as time goes along, is go to my personal brand website, which is www.jonjon
Mhm.
Bassford Bassford like a bass fish in a Ford car.com. Also for my consulting and what I do on that front with the operational audits and coaching, you can go to think-lateral.com.
Very nice. Thank you so much for sharing, John. It's been such a pleasure having you and sharing your insight with us.
Okay, enjoy the conversation immensely.
Amazing. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please comment and tell us what was your favorite part, your favorite habit that you are going to try out for yourself today. Comment below. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Until next time, I will see you at the top of your best morning routine ever. Stay blessed.